Listen, why would we talk about manuals on this channel? Because I believe that you can. Let's go. Manuals are hard, and in one video, I'm going to show you the exact tactics and tricks to reverse your way into this method of learning endless manuals. Here we go. Now, here's the key. With this method, I'm going to take my spiritual download approach and bring with you the one and only approach that this guy, the same wife, one wife, same paid for minivan guy. Yep, he's here, he's back. He's gonna share some tips with you, and you're gonna blow your friends' minds with how quickly you progress. Do the like button thing, do the subscription thing, because when you're doing manuals, it's what rhymes with manual? Okay, and now we're gonna dive in and talk about what not to do. The first thing you don't need to do is find the balance point. Everyone's gonna tell you the first thing you need to do with the manual is to find the balance point. It's not true. The first thing you need to do when you're manualing is to actually control the lift of the front wheel. Control the lift of the front wheel. The first thing you're gonna do is use the reverse spring method. So there's actually 3 S's of manuals. We have spring, sit back, and slide. Spring, sit back, and slide. And the first thing we want to do is we want to spring the front wheel up using what's called a front wheel lift. It's a very simple move. This one is incredibly, deceptively hard to do. So listen, if you have done front wheel lifts before, if you're an intermediate mountain biker, you've probably skipped these because they don't look that cool. Here's the deal. You need to do a front wheel lift, and you need to do it by springing up. Here's how you do it. You want to stand very tall. Standing very tall while riding at, a medium speed on your bike. You want to load the suspension as hard and fast as you can using a still upper body and an explosive, rapid, aggressive pump through the feet. Okay, so your torso is going to be a counterweight and your feet are going to push down. And what this does is it creates a springing capacity for your bike to come back up to you. Now, what we're not going to do is we're not going to absorb this pressure and stand still. We're also not going to yank back on the bike. What we're going to do is we're going to spring the front of the bike up by simply getting out of the way and rowing the bike to our hips, okay? This is harder than it looks, and if you can't do this type of a spring, it's going to be a sequence of muscle patterns that will hold you back from doing manuals for the rest of your life, so listen to me. Now, the key here is once we get this spring down, you're going to be able to lock the bike and load it into the manual position without having to fight to even find the balance point. Now, does that make sense? Because what's different about this from maybe other channels or other things you've seen before, and the reason why you're stuck at manuals is simply because you're fighting to get the bike into a position, and because you're fighting, you're trying really hard and using all these muscles, and you're tired and you're off balance, and you start off balance, so you end up finishing off balance. Manuals are, by the way, one of the most revealing things out there. So if your athleticism isn't as good as it needs to be, then you're going to truly suffer with your manuals. So pay attention to, if this is really hard and you've got the right technique, but it's still difficult, then what you need to do is actually start looking at your athleticism and how your body works functionally in order for this to become easier. So again, let's review number 1. We're just going to get the front wheel to come up to us. It's called a front wheel lift, very common thing, but we're going to do it by springing, okay? So loading the bike, springing back up, and allowing our bike to come up while we row the hands to the hips and we stand relatively still. Now, here's a tip for you as well. If this is difficult, at the very last second, right before you're about to bring the bike all the way up, go ahead and let your knees bend a little bit. It'll allow the front wheel lift to be very, very easy. Now, once you've practiced this drill, go ahead and store this movement in your mind and store it in your body for step number 2. The second reverse drill that we need is we're going to sit back. I want you to gently take your bike, put it down on the side, and leave it. Because manualing is a movement of the body first and on the bike second. Now, our thesis here, Mountain Bike Academy, we believe that we're on a mission to help 40 million mountain bikers. Well, sorry, that's how many mountain bikers there are in the United States right now. We're on a mission to help 10,000 riders right now get on the bike, shred with confidence, virtually eliminate crashes. If that's you, go below right now, join us, join our membership. It's going to be awesome. We'll see you there. But here's the thing. Once you go and you learn this second technique, it's going to really unlock ease of balancing on the manual. So the second part we are going to talk about once we've found the balance point, kind of how to sit inside that balance point. So for number 2, we're going to sit back. And what is sitting back? Sitting back is a technique where we're hanging off the bars and we're creating a force this way with our upper body, and we're pushing our feet that way using just like something to keep us balanced, okay? And so instead of doing this on the bike while it's moving after you've yanked the front up, let's just go find a pole, all right? So go to your local mall, go to a handrail, go to something that looks like this, stand next to it, put your feet in a riding stance, lean back, and feel the glory of exactly what a manual feels like. Now listen, if you want to manual, this is what it feels like. That's it. It's so simple. So what I encourage you to do is to see if you can gently hang off of this bar or, I don't know, a tree or like a handrail that you're holding onto. Lean back gently and keep a straight back while you do it. Try to elongate the spine and engage the core while you're in this stance. Try wiggling around side to side. Try pushing on your feet. What's going to happen is your butt's going to rock back and up like this whenever you push on your feet. Okay, so just a little prerequisite for the next step, all right? Now, once you've gotten this sitting back position, then I want you to go and take it to the bike. And what's so interesting about this approach, and the reason why it works so well when I teach people how to do this, is because when you train your body to functionally move and you store that muscle memory inside of you, then you go try it on the bike. It's literally a function of your athleticism. If your athleticism is good and you put a little bit of practice into this, you can go and find this position on the bike, and let's do it together right now. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go back to the first S, and that's spring. We want to spring and load our bodies a little bit. Instead, this time of doing just a front wheel lift and kind of keeping the torso the same, as soon as the front wheel comes up, what we want to do is just sit back. So what we want to do is keep the arms straight. Now, a common mistake that I see with manuals is reaching around the body like this to try to extend the hands out and get the torso further back. It doesn't work. What you want to do is you want to have kind of a firm but gentle pull in, oh, my back just cracked. Oh, that felt good. You want to have a firm but gentle pull in the shoulder blades like this. And you want to have kind of a long, tall spine. We're sitting back and down. We're not pulling the bike up, okay? So common wisdom or like a habit that we have is we try to pull the front of the bike up. What we need to do is we need to sit down and back. And what that'll do is it'll actually create a rotational force on the bike and pull the front of it up. Now, once you find this sitting back position on the bike, it's like magic. Because once you do, then you're manualing. You've got it. It's there. You're just pushing forward on the pedals, hanging gently off the back of the bike, and having a good time. Now, once you've gotten these two moves put together, then it can be a lot of fun. And the final reverse drill for endless manuals is going to be sliding, okay? So we're going to maintain this balance by sliding our feet forward and backward. So the way I want you to think about it is the handlebars and the hands are kind of like a fixed point, and the hips are kind of our counterweight to balance with down here. And then the feet need to move forward and backward relative to the hands and the hips so that we can keep balance. So if the front of the bike pitches forward or if the front is dropping, what you want to do is you want to push the feet forward. If the front wheel of the bike starts to rise up, then what we want to do is slide the feet backward. And that's it. So this is how you can balance on a manual and create endless manuals and tons of fun and really enjoy yourself on the bike, because manualing is probably the most fun thing you can do on a bike. I'm sorry, I'm biased. It's awesome. It's true that you probably aren't going to get this on your very first try. It's going to take a little bit of effort, and that's all right. So what we want to do is talk about a couple common mistakes that I see with riders and maybe how to fix them. So the first common mistake I see with mountain bikers trying to do a manual is they do the granny. And the granny is where we just kind of stand on top of the bike and pull back with the arms, and the front wheel comes up a little bit, and the legs are very straight. It almost looks like your hamstrings are locked. I don't know why I call this one the granny. No offense to any grannies on here. I love you guys. Y'all are the best. But look, the granny, it's just it's a problem because you're not doing anything that I just said. You're not getting behind the bike in order to create that rotational force. You're not springing on the bike to get the front wheel to lift up, and you're not able to really balance by moving forward and backwards. So the solution here usually actually has nothing to do with technique and almost everything to do with your body. And honestly, if your athleticism is so limited that you can barely do a front wheel lift, then we have some deeper issues, and you probably need to go get in shape and do it in a way where it specifically will help you with mountain biking. Not trying to not trying to discourage you at all. It's just manualing is one of the hardest things. It draws on a massive amount of athleticism where you can get away without having with medium athleticism for a lot of other things. So don't feel bad. It's just great. Now you know that, okay, cool. I just need to work on some flexibility, some mobility, some strength. Got it. So let's go for it. The second common mistake that I see quite frequently is called the tug of war. The tug of war looks just like a tug of war. What it feels like is you're pulling back on a rope and you've got your feet way in front of you and your butt way behind you. And what's interesting is that I used to do this quite a bit, especially when I used to ride a Specialized Demo 8. That was the bike that I learned how to do manuals on. And a Specialized Demo 8 that I rode was about 43, 44 pounds, really heavy. And probably the most important thing to note about it was it had an actually pretty short wheelbase. It was a 1205 millimeter wheelbase, a really short cockpit, and really tall bars and short chainstays. So it wasn't the hardest bike to manual, but it was hard for me because my movement was get as far back as I can, push as far as I can on the feet, and get the butt straight back as much as I can. Now the problem is this creates like a foot and a hand punch rather than a rotational force on the bike. It creates almost no rotational force on the bike. And so what we can do instead is we can stomp down, or we can press down onto the bike and create that spring to get the front to lift up for us, and then just sit behind it rather than pull, and end up going nowhere. Does that make sense how that's different from the other one as well? I really hope this is helpful. All right, and common mistake number 3, this one is a little bit more of for manuals. It's something we can go do in a parking lot, and we can do it easily. We can get a bike and do a manual. It really doesn't require a lot of preparation. So a common mistake that I see with riders is they'll go and practice manuals for 2 or 3 or 4 hours straight and not stop. So one thing I would recommend, this is a very athletically demanding move. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it's really hard. And because of that, you need to stop every once in a while and go do something else. Or while you're really pushing to learn this, make sure you're stopping and visualizing you doing a manual. And another key tip that I would give you as well to visualize is, instead of you thinking about the manual you're trying to do, if you're getting close and you're getting to the balance point and then losing it quite a bit, a really good thing to do would actually be just to picture the front wheel floating up in front of you. And that visual cue can help you by eliminating all the extra fluff in the mind, and it gives us the one thing to focus on. If this video helps, go ahead and like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace. Thank you.